Hey guys, welcome to this month's episode of the book club where we are reviewing Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Oh, hey Jace.
Hey,
good timing. Just came with the coffee, is nice. We realized we've been committing a big crime on our previous episodes of the book club, which is we didn't do the episodes with a cup of coffee. So cheers. Jace. Awesome. So today we are talking about the book Die with Zero. It's a book that we both have read and we've both thoroughly enjoyed and have taken a lot of lessons from this book and applied it throughout our life. I think a big takeaway from this book, personally for me, was learning to build a business that allowed us to live a lifestyle that we want. Because what's the overarching theme of this book, Jace?
I would say like the biggest theme of this book is pretty self-explanatory from the title, Die with Zero. So the main concept is when you die, you're supposed to die with $0 in your bank account. That means you have spent as much money on experiences in your life as possible.
Perfect. Because when we go to the grave, we can't take anything with us, right? So
Exactly.
we may as well do everything we can to enjoy life and have those experiences along the way. Takeaway number one, your life is the sum of your experiences. Now, I want to mention one of my favorite quotes, our favorite quote from this book, which is, it's actually not from this book, but it's actually from a TV show called Downtown Abbey. The business of life is the acquisition of memories. How many times have we repeated that quote?
Exactly. It's not the acquisition of money. It's not the acquisition of fame. It's the acquisition of experiences, because like that's the thing that you're gonna think about when you like start getting old.
So one thing that the book talks about is how investing in experiences as opposed to materials things reaps more benefits in the long term because of something called a memory dividend. So with material things, oftentimes what happens is, let's say you buy a new pair of shoes that you've been wanting for a while, you might get an initial jolt of happiness, but then that enjoyment of the thing kind of diminishes over time. As opposed to experiences, once you invest in an experience, you get paid in memory dividends throughout our life. So a perfect example of this was in 2018, Jason and I, we went to the World Cup in Russia, and that was like a lifelong dream for the both of us. And to this day, we still talk about those experiences, right, Jace?
I would say like almost every single month we would bring it up, and it would like bring us a lot of joy. So that's the dividend that Jono was referring to.
So to add on to that point, one thing the book also talks about is to invest in your experiences earlier, because it gives you more time to reap those memory dividends over time. So just like investing into the share market, the earlier that you can do it, the more benefits you get in the long term.
The more your stock compounds and reaps you more benefits in the long term.
So there's actually a really good snippet from this book that I think really just sums up what you've just said. When you look back on your life, the richness of those experiences will determine your judgment of how full a life you've led. So it stands to reason that you should put some serious thought and effort into planning the kinds of experiences that you want for yourself. So I think a lot of people, they embark on the default path. They live life on autopilot. You know, they wake up, go to their jobs, watch a bit of Netflix, repeat, and they're not really thinking too deliberately about how they want their life to play out and the experiences that they want to have. So a big takeaway from this book is actually, for me, was just to take a step back and think a little bit more critically about what are the life experiences that I want and how can I actually plan my life in a way to maximize my experiences along the way.
Nice.
Takeaway number two, the real golden years.
So traditionally, society has told us the real golden years is when you retire. How society designed our life is that you go to school so that you can join the workforce during your prime years, and you work all the way until you're 60 or 70, depending on your country. And then that's when you retire and really enjoy your life. But to be honest, by the time you're 60 or 70, you probably don't have enough energy or health to have fulfilling experiences.
And the book talks about this concept called the shifting balance of health, money, and free times. Let's say like someone in their 20s or 30s, you don't have as much money, but you have a lot more time and a lot more health. Let's say you get to retirement age, that kind of shifts. You have a lot of money and you have a lot of time, but you don't have as much health. So the key thing now to think about, what are some experiences that you can do while you're younger that you might not be able to do when you're older. For example, last year we took that trip to New Zealand, hiking up Roy's Peak, that 6-hour hike. God, that was grueling.
That was grueling. That's something that we probably can't do when we're 50s or 60s.
Well, hopefully I can still do that. So Jace, knowing that we're entering our real golden years then,
Yeah.
what are some experiences that you would like to do that you might not be able to do once you get old?
I would say a lot more overseas trip that requires tons of hiking. It's something that is a lot harder to do when I have a family in the future. And I'll probably have to wait until my kids reach a certain age to do that. And by that time, my health would probably not gonna be as good as like my fitness right now. So this is honestly the perfect time to do it. There's no point delaying it.
Takeaway number 3, time bucketing your life. So a natural progression of life is that we all get older. And so the book talks about, as a result of time passing, it's natural to have time buckets for our lives. When we're in our 20s to 30s, there's certain experiences that are going to be limited to that period of lives, as opposed to when you're 30 to 40 or 50 to 60.
So one example of time bucketing is staying in hostels when we're traveling, right? Like we enjoyed staying in hostels during our early 20s to our mid 20s as well, because we didn't have that much money back then. You know, that's why we travel cheaply and we're able to gain amazing memories. But when we're 30s or reaching our 40s, we probably don't want to stay in hostels anymore, right? We probably want something more comfortable and stuff. So this is a good example of time bucketing. If you want to stay in hostels, do it in your 20s.
In 2018, after uni, before I started full-time work, I went backpacking with my mates for 3 months around Europe, and we were staying in dirty, cheap hostels. And it was great. I had a bunch of fun. We went partying, we went drinking. Last year when I went back to Europe as a 29-year-old, I still stayed in a hostel, but because I had money now, I decided to stay in a single room dorm, because I was like, no, I've had enough of the 10-bedroom dorms. When people went out drinking and partying and stuff, I had to sometimes hop on calls for our business and things like that. So yeah, as you age, you have more responsibilities that ultimately might hinder your ability to have certain experiences.
Exactly. So what's like a practical exercise that people can take away from this point?
So the book talks about sitting down and actually time bucketing your life into 5 or 10-year chunks, and then listing out specific experiences that you want in each time bucket. So let's say, for example, my next time bucket is between 30 to 35. Some life experiences that I would like to have during that time would be to grow our YouTube channel by posting 2 videos per week, hiking the Himalayas in Nepal, or maybe working in Bali as a digital nomad for a month. These are like life experiences that would be pretty cool to have in this time bucket between 30 to 35. And then the next one would be things like, for example, kids and
building a family.
Takeaway number 4, take your biggest risks when you have little to lose. That was really my way of thinking when I decided to quit my high-paying, stable, well-respected corporate job as a lawyer to go full-time with our videography business. I was 26 at the time, back in 2022. And I thought to myself, hey, this is the perfect time. I'm still young. I don't have any responsibilities in terms of mortgage. I don't have any kids that are dependent on me. This is the perfect time to go all in on our business, learn the skills so that at least I can set myself up to a position where when I do have kids, I don't need to make as much of a risk in my life. There's a lot of people that we've met throughout our business journey where they're in their 40s and that's when they decide to take a risk. But for them, it's a lot harder because they've got 2-3 kids that are dependent on them for income. They've got a mortgage that they have to sustain as well. So it's a lot more stressful for them. Not impossible. A lot of them have still made the jump, but I feel very privileged, and I'm sure you do as well, of starting this journey in our 20s.
A lot earlier.
Yeah, when we have a lot less risk in our lives. We can make decisions that are better for us long term rather than just doing things for the short term. And you know, a lot of people in our audience who I've met are working a 9 to 5. They have a passion for videography and they might, for example, want to build a business around videography, but they're so scared of taking a risk. What would you say to that?
Well, the book says right now is the best time because you don't have heaps of responsibilities yet. You don't have a mortgage, you're not married, you don't have kids, so just do it.
And one thing the book also talks about is how us as humans, we oftentimes think of things in terms of worst case scenarios. Let's say, like, for example, you take this risk, you quit your job and you go all in your business. You might think the worst case scenario is I'm gonna go homeless. But oftentimes, 99% of the time, the worst case scenario is not gonna happen. You're not gonna become homeless. You know what I mean? So I think oftentimes we
tend to exaggerate
Yeah.
our fears.
Yeah, of the worst case scenario. And I certainly had that fear as well when I quit my 9-to-5 job. I was like, oh, what if I quit my 9-to-5 job and we stop making money with our videography business? I'm gonna have zero income. I'm gonna go homeless.
Yeah, you're gonna be like, Jason, it's gonna make me homeless.
Okay.
Well, that's an awkward end to that point.
Anyways, guys, thank you for staying until the very end of this video. Those were our biggest takeaways from the book Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. If you guys have read this book, let us know in the comments below what was your biggest takeaway. Thank you for staying until the very end of this video. Give this video a like, subscribe, and if you are a beginner videographer looking to take your journey to the next level, make sure to check out all of our free resources to the 7-day videography email crash course and also our creator kit, which contains pre-production guides for real shoots that we've done in the past. Anyways, guys, that's it from us. Let us know also what other book that you would like us to do a review on for next month's episode of the book club. See you guys next time.
Stay focused.